Today we're going to talk about what you do when you get a new client, the first time you meet them and you're trying to determine what's going on with them. And sometimes people are a little skeptical about these energy devices, biofeedback, and they don't want to even tell you what's wrong with them. They want to test you out and test your device out to see if it can figure it out. So because of that, a lot of times I have to start with an overall scan of their entire body. So what I choose, if you see in this screen right here, if you go to group, the little on the right side, there's a little drop down menu. So you can choose core product. Core product is the entire body, and it has scans of sections of the body so that include all the different organs from the head to the toe, and also the skeletal and the muscle system. So now you can get a quick overview of what is going on inside the body. So I've already done a scan of this client, the core product, so that we could start from this point. And once the scan is over, this is the page you end up on. So you want to first of all go to the card index page. In this case, I've already scanned this person several times, so we're going to just make sure we're only looking at today's scan. So on the drop-down menu under date, I'm going to pick today's date. So when it's a brand new client, you don't have to do this because you only have one scan. So now we're concerned about which tissue has the lowest energy. And there's several things here that are telling us about the energy level and the acute or chronic problems. So the first thing I do is I go to KOD, the KOD column. The KOD column is the actual energy of the organ and tissue itself. And just like in an Excel spreadsheet, if you click on the column, it will sort this number either from high to low or low to high. And I want it from low to high. Because at the very top, I want to see the lowest KODs. Normal KOD is 1.2 and above. Anything below that has some sort of issues that may be starting in the body, weaknesses that you want to examine. In this case, this person looks pretty darn good because the lowest KOD they have is 1.03, so just a tad bit 1.2. But you notice they do have some energy levels even as chronic as a 6 and some 5s and 4s. So there are some health issues that are going on. So then I also want to look for quickly, if I go to the color, this will quickly let me zero in on where the lowest energy is. So if I bring this bar down, the first red with a 6, saying that something chronic is going on here, is in this tissue slide. So we can click here and we can take a quick peek at the results here. And it doesn't really tell us other than visually what these numbers are correlating to. So if I want to know specifically where these numbers are, what is this organ right here? What is this cavity right here? What is this long cavity right here? I click on text. Now text places these little arrows, these green crosses. And if you just hold it there, it'll show what it is. Like this is muscles of the back. So this whole length right here is muscles of the back. But what is this 6 here? This is the thyroid gland. So something's going on with the thyroid gland. So that means I might want to scan the glandular system to zero in on why is this person having a thyroid problem. I happen to know this person already, and I know they don't have a thyroid. So this is highly likely why there is a 6 right here. We also note that there are some 4s along the spine. And if we click on this green arrow right here that says this is the lumbar vertebrae. So there are some 4s in the spine. So that gives us an idea of some things that are going on. But let's investigate further. Let's exit and let's find another tissue that's having issues. Let's go here. This is not completely green and it does have a 5. So let's look at this tissue. So we notice that this tissue right here has some 4s, and on this side there's 4s and 5s. So what is this organ here? So once again we can place the arrow of the little green spots, and this is the right lung. So this is the left lung. So there's low energy in the lungs. So that's giving us a clue that maybe we want to scan also the respiratory system. And let's see what this tissue is right here that has 4s in it. It's the left ventricle. So this is part of the heart that also has low energy. So let's continue examining this slide a little bit longer. Let's click on the graph, which takes us to the analysis page. And make sure that nothing else is clicked because you just want to look at pathology. So click on pathology. And look what comes up. A lot of things are going on in the lungs. And it tells us from the lowest KOD, which would mean this is potentially the most severe problem that they're having, on up to this condition right here, which means it could involve parasites. So now we want to confirm, is any of this really bothering this person's lungs? So we click on the lowest KOD or coefficient, the lowest coefficient, and you do an adjust all. But before I do that, I want you to notice this number, optimum distribution, has to do with the organs that we're looking at right now. And we want to know, is laryngitis affecting this 2.5? Because 2.5 is a high number and it appears that everything should be healthy and functioning properly. But when you do an adjust all, let's see what happens to it. It dropped all the way to a 1.3. So you hit adjust all just a couple times and then you stop when it turns to black. And these are the figures we want to be looking at because this is in relation to these potential health issues. Now we want to confirm, do they have bronchitis? Is there a respiratory infection? Is there tracheitis? Let's find out. So we click on acute bronchitis and we want to Vegetto test it. This is how we confirm or deny this prognosis. And it tests exactly for acute bronchitis. And after we've done that, we look at analysis plus. So this is confirming that acute bronchitis is weakening the lungs by 54%. So that's a definite confirmation that the lungs are being affected by bronchitis. Let's move down to respiratory infection and Vegetto test that. An analysis plus. This is also having an impact on the body by 54%. So now we know from core product that we need to dig further and we need to scan the respiratory system. Now let's move over to pathogens, microorganisms. Let's see if there's anything impacting the lungs. So it's saying Klebsiella, potentially Klebsiella is a bacteria that is infecting the lungs. So let's test it. V test internal. Click analysis plus. And once again, we have confirmation that this particular bacteria is impacting this person's respiratory system. So there's a couple things we can do right here from this screen. One thing you can do is you can click on reprinter. If you select from this matrix RF, this is remote frequency treatment, you can click on that. We want to increase how many treatments we're going to give for Klebsiella, and I like to use 200. Some people only use 60, some people use 600, but I find that 200 is effective. And you make sure, since this is a negative topic, as they call it, it is negatively impacting the body, you have to invert the frequency you're creating. And if you've clicked that, this invert shows right here that you did click it. And then you press start preparation, and remotely it starts sending those frequencies to the person via the DNA that you have. You can make the choice to actually create a remedy using the cup, and you would place an eye drop, a bottle like this in the cup, and then you would send that frequency to the cup, and it's either going to have water in it, water and alcohol in it. Alcohol makes it last for a month, water only a week, or you could be doing those homeopathic sugar pellets. Paraffin is wax. I don't know how people use paraffin. And so you could do the same thing, make sure it's inverted and start preparation, and it's going to send it to the bottle. And then you could send that bottle home with your client. The next thing you want to do is make sure that this bacteria that we've confirmed is bothering this person. We can even test the Streptococcus. Let's test that. That's very common, so we want to make sure we're testing that. And once again, we click on Analysis Plus. This is also impacting this person by 25%. So what we want to do is, once you've looked at how many ever bacteria, viruses, pathogens that you want to confirm, you click this box over here where the picture of the pathogen is. And what that does is it sends it to the research page, as you can see. And right from here, it's selected it, and you can right away destroy it if you want to, right from this page. And I'm just going to pick 5 times just to keep the clock moving. So it scans it, and once it's scanned, it starts giving destructive therapy. And what you want to see with destructive therapy is just the opposite of what you see with pathology. With pathology, we like the numbers to get better. We like them to go from 5s and 6s to 1s and 2s and 3s. But with pathogens, you want the numbers to go to 6 because you're trying to destroy the energy of pathogens. And as you see, that's what it's doing. This therapy is doing that. Okay? Okay, so then we go backwards. Again, we're going to look at something else. So far we've confirmed that the lungs need to be scanned, and the heart may also need to be scanned. So let's move on and see what other tissues have 6s. We're going to check pathology. So once again, look at this. Even though it's showing the head, it's still confirming that it's a lung issue. Laryngitis, respiratory infection, all these things. There may be some heart, which we already said also, that we found some low energy in the heart. So even though we're looking at the head, the pathology is still pointing us in the direction of the lungs and the heart. So let's move down. Let's see. Okay, let's look at this one. Doesn't look too bad. Lots of twos and threes. This is one we looked at, 5s and 4s, and it's the lungs. So we know we want to do lungs. Okay. Okay, so it's pointed us in the direction of the lungs. So what we want to do here is go to research again, go back to the research page. Now I can click on this column group and I can pick respiratory and the cardiovascular system. And then what I want to do is I want to select all these. They're not selected yet. So I click anywhere in the bar, but not in the box. I click in the bar, it highlights the bar. I hold down the shift key. I go all the way down to the bottom of this list. I click in the bar, not the checkbox. So now all of these are highlighted, and I come down here and I pick check selected. So now all the cardiovascular system and the respiratory system is checked for a scan. So now I would scan, and let's find out what's really going on in this person's lungs. And this will take some time, so I'm going to let it just go through a few of the tissues. See, there's the trachea with the 5s and 6s, which it told us what's going on. Tracheitis, bronchitis, inflammation. That lung in particular had a lot of 4s and 5s. Okay, so I'm going to stop it just for time. So now what I can do is I want to zero in on the tissues that are really having the problems, and I can go right here to shape, the little drop down menu, and I can select tissues that just have 5s and 6s. So now we see it's narrowed it down to all the tissues that are chronic and acute. And this is what we want to treat. So we would do the same thing. Click on the row, highlight the row, hold the shift key down, go all the way to the bottom, click the last one, and then come down here and say check selected. And so right from this page, I can go to meta correction and I can select how many times I want these tissues to be treated. And in Oberon, it's 1 to 20 times. And depending on the person's issues, how weak they are at first. When they're really weak, you may not want to pick 20 times, maybe you only want to pick 5 times, because methatherapy and destructive therapy does cause some reactions sometimes with some people. So I start a little slow, and as I know and I see the pathology is improving and I see the pathogens are dying and they're not showing up every time, then I might bump it up to 10 and 20 times when I know their body is more ready and willing to handle it. And it'll just automatically start treating all those tissues. And if it's a pathogen, in Oberon, it automatically knows to select destructive therapy. So you don't have to worry about changing what type of therapy the device is giving. Oberon automatically knows. So I'm going to pause this and exit and show you a way that you can kind of monitor how this person's responding to metatherapy. So you go to the card index page, and after you've done several treatments, like I have with this person, you can just select like maybe the first one, the first scan you ever did, one in the middle of your treatments, and one for today. So now the results are only those dates. And what you want to do is click on name, and it will alphabetize all the tissues that you've been treating. And it'll show you the progress. First of all, though, you want to make sure you only have the scans showing. You don't want the metatherapy showing or the Vigetto testing. So click this column and just highlight test or scan. Now we're only comparing the progress of the scans. So let's look at a tissue. For example, this was done on December 15th. This scan right here was a 6. And today it's still a 6, but the energy has improved and the KOD has improved, but not a lot. So this person's respiratory system still needs a lot of work. Let's see here. This one has improved quite a bit. The larynx has gone from 31% energy to 64% energy, but the KOD is still low. The staph bacteria was 64 and it's dropped all the way down to 29%. So the stomach right here has gone from a 4 to a 1. So this is just a quick way of seeing how much progress they're making.